bright, ambitious, civic-minded kid. Career in government, perhaps in Congress. So you tune in one day to see what's happening on the House floor.
I now call up H.R. 7120, the Justice...
You find two representatives, Cedric Richmond of Louisiana.
By the time I'm finished, you will be clear that we're not good friends.
And Matt Gaetz of Florida.
Are you suggesting that you're certain that none of us have non-white children?
Having the sort of high-minded debate our founding fathers must have envisioned.
Because you reflected on your black son and you said none of us could understand.
Man, stop. I'm not about to get sidetracked about the color of our children. We're talking about black kids. I reclaim my time. It is not about the color of your kids. It is about black people in the streets that are getting killed. And if one of them happens to be your kid, I'm concerned about him too. And clearly I'm more concerned about him than you are.
You're claiming you have more concern for my family than I do? Who in the hell do you think you are?
Gentlemen,
you should take those words down.
Trying to insult somebody into agreement is the stupidest thing you can possibly do.
Arthur Brooks again.
I mean, it's completely ineffective, but it feels good. It feels satisfying in the very short run.
But surveys suggest that most of us hate this noise.
93%, if you believe Tim Dixon's data on this, 93% of us hate how divided we become as a country.
Brooks is referring to a 2018 survey run by an international group called More in Common, which tries to build stronger communities and fight polarization. Now, we shouldn't pretend that political polarization is new. It's more a feature than a bug in many political systems. You can find incredible nastiness if you go back a century in American Civil Rights Act of 1964 was passed with just 60% Democratic support, but again, 75% Republican. If you look at the major legislation passed in recent years, however, it's a different story. Obamacare made it through Congress with 0 Republican votes. President Trump's 2018 tax reform bill made it through with 0 Democratic votes. This political partisanship is clearly echoed in the public. Consider how people think about the media. In 2016, the Pew Research Center found that 83% of Democrats trusted information from national news organizations, along with 70% of Republicans. Today, 78% of Democrats still trust the major media, but Republican trust in just a few years dropped from 70% to 35%. So, how do we get here? What's been driving this intense spike in division and partisanship?
It's a perfect Freakonomics question, actually. So there's an interesting paper from the European Economic Review that was published in 2017 by 3 German economists that looked at 800 elections over 120 years in 20 advanced economies, including the United States. And what they found was that a financial crisis, which is a 2 times a century deal, not a regular V-shaped recession, but a financial crisis like what we endured in the 30s and what we endured in 2008, 2009, has a very, very strong impact in the following decade on political polarization. Specifically, on average, it causes the 30% bump in voter share for populist parties and candidates. This is Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump by the numbers. So we don't know how to distribute the returns after economy is coming back without 80% of the returns going to the top 20% of the income distribution, which opens the door for political populists to say somebody's got your stuff and I'm going to get it back, whether it's foreigners or whether it's trade or whether it's bankers or whether it's wealthy people.
You're saying that the populist sentiment comes from frustration over how the recovery gains are distributed? Because I was assuming it was about blaming the experts and elites for the underlying crisis.
Well, there's that too, but that generally comes later. It's the fact that I'm seeing people doing just fine after the crisis, but I'm still not, and my brother-in-law Cletus is still
even
on my
bigger
phone.
storm. But you also just told us that most of us don't want to be involved in that contemptuous partisan cycle. So you're saying that we are both victim and villain, we being the citizenry, no?
For sure, and the same thing is true with any addictive cycle, where you want some relief, and so you drink, and then the homeostasis sets in, and so you drink some more, and you want the relief, but you hate the process, and so what we're in is this weird downward spiral of contempt.
Tell us what you can about the science of contempt. I'd like to know, first of all, just how empirically it's been identified as a separate thing from, let's say, anger.
So anger is a basic negative emotion. The negative emotions are produced vis-a-vis stimuli of your limbic system. It's kind of your lizard brain. Anger is a hot emotion that says, I care what you think and I want it to change. The problem is when you mix these emotions into complex emotions. So shame and guilt are complex emotions, for example, and contempt is this nasty cocktail of anger plus disgust, which is not a hot emotion anymore. It's a cold emotion. It says, you are worthless, and what you said is worthless. You are beneath my regard. And that's something that should
realize how easy it is for anyone to tip into contempt. In fact, I don't know if most of us have even noticed that we added that layer of disgust to our anger. The upside, what makes me happy about it is once you can identify the forces that are being destructive, you can address those forces. So do most of us who exhibit contempt or experience contempt even know it? Do we identify the fact that it's something different than anger?
The answer is no, because it's a habit. Our habits of communication are as ingrained as smoking. I mean, I've seen myself in debates about the free market system, and somebody's made an ill-considered remark about capitalism, and I rolled my eyes, Stephen, and I guarantee you that my interlocutor didn't go home that night and say, I was debating the president of the American Enterprise Institute on CNN, and he was making some very good points. Like, that guy's a jerk. And the reason is...
Ha ha ha.